Hello friends, so you want to know how things changed from first child to third child. Now, we all know that a lot of things change between being a first time mom and being the uber experienced mom. You've done this 100 times at this point and you know what you're doing. And sometimes things change naturally with that experience. So there are definitely things that I changed from first child to even second and definitely now third, that if I were to have a fourth, I would do these things again. Now, my two children last night when they said their prayers, they asked God for mommy to have another baby. So there is some energy out there for me to have a fourth, but what I'm gonna need you to do is two things. One, please block that prayer and ask for me to have no more. Block their innocent prayers. Put out the opposite energy for me. Number two, I need you to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get all of the notifications for all of my videos and you get to see if there are some other things that might be of interest or value to you. Now let's get right into it. So, I actually have different conversations with my friends who are first-time moms and who have multiple children, okay? My friends who have one child and my friends who have multiple. It's really a different conversation. So there are things that I definitely went into, you know, having my first son that I thought, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. And it was okay. It wasn't that great and I didn't end up doing it the second time around, or I just learned from experience. So number one, the first thing that I wanna talk about that I no longer do that I did with my first child is a crib. I don't get cribs. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but let me tell you where I got that idea from. I actually got it from a Montessori teaching technique for infants. They actually, for the Montessori method, use a mattress on the floor and a mirror that is non-breakable for the baby to see themselves and to kind of have an ease of moving in their environment. So that's exactly what I did with my third child. I did not purchase a crib at all, okay? And there are other benefits that I'm about to talk about as well. So what I did was I bought one of those thin IKEA mattresses and placed it on the floor, and it was easy for me to lay down and nurse the baby and everything in my room. This was actually in my room. And once the baby got a little bit older, I actually purchased a toddler bed that had really high sides so that if the baby rolled over or anything that he would not fall out of the bed. But it also had the ability to get out of the bed, right? So just slowly pull themselves backward out of the bed. And I have never seen him fall out of the bed or anything like that. Literally just he learned the skill to get himself out of the bed. And this kind of created this ease of independence. And you would think that like that would make them constantly get out the bed all night long, but it actually hasn't. In fact, for my second child, I gave her a toddler bed by the time she turned one as well. But with my third child, I did it even earlier. I just skipped the whole crib thing from door. Now this is also beneficial because I don't know about you, but if you have a child who wakes up in the middle of the night and say you're trying to take care of them and get them to sleep in their crib, sometimes you will find yourself climbing in that crib and laying next to this baby in this crib, and then once they're asleep, you're trying to get out of the crib and you literally have to move like a ninja. You're like trying to figure out what way you can go without pushing the mattress down, making too much noise, hop out. I'm really short, I'm 4'9", so literally it was a real active sport for me to get out of the crib. Then, on the times when the baby was smaller and I would just try to lay the baby in the crib, again, I'm short, so the more the crib went down to make sure the baby couldn't stand up and fall out of the crib or anything, the more difficult it was for me to actually put the baby down on the mattress. My ribs were hurting from me trying to angle myself over into this crib and get the baby to lay down. So I was like, no way, not doing that anymore. I'm just gonna get a toddler bed It worked out beautifully. All right, number 2, I didn't swaddle. Now with the first baby, this was a really big project. I'm sitting there, I'm swaddling, I'm folding everything nice and neatly like a little baby burrito. All right, and I really felt like I was swaddle queen, and I just knew how to just do it and tuck it tight and keep it. I mean, it was a really good baby burrito, right, with my first child. But I read this book by Glenn Dolman. It was like Fit Baby, Smart Baby, Your Baby. And I agreed that when the baby comes out of the womb, you want them to get used to moving themselves in air and no longer trying to replicate that in the womb experience, because they are going back. So they might as well get used to the environment. And you know what? I really saw that my children liked this. It made them more excited about getting on tummy time earlier than my son, who I first swaddled, and then when it was time to do tummy time, he was very reluctant to do it. He didn't want to spend much time on his tummy, and he was definitely my latest crawler. Okay, so I no longer did that, and then I had babies that will want to be on their tummies, do tummy time. It was no big deal. As far as the reflex thing, I also did this. I'm not suggesting anyone else do these things, but these are the changes that I made because my babies had really good head control, and I was always right next to them watching them. I did place them on their stomach to sleep or on their side to sleep, and that really cut down on the infant startling that would make them wake up. This really worked for me, so if I had another baby who had really great head control and all of those things, for sure, I won't swaddle that baby. Number 3, I use the stroller a lot less. In fact, it's not even in my car right now. And I switched over to using more baby carriers. And once the baby started walking, I switched over to them actually walking more. And I actually would put that little backpack on them that has a leash. At first I thought that sounded so crazy when I saw other parents doing it. But now I think it's so helpful because they can walk alongside you and you really have a hold to them, and they can feel free and they can explore and get physical exercise. I didn't want them strapped down to the stroller just as much as most of my babies did not want to be strapped down to the stroller. They wanted to be strapped onto me, or if they were walking, they wanted to walk. I'm really bad at using a stroller. I'm that mom who's like looking awkward, struggling trying to get in the store. I need someone to come and hold the door because for some reason the handicap button isn't working to open these doors so I can push my stroller through. Of course, I have really young children, so I need a dual stroller to fit through all these doors, and then I'll have a baby on my chest. No. Alright, this is definitely something that changed from first child to third child, which was how I responded, or the time in which I responded to their cries. So I labeled myself with my first child super non-cried out, and I still feel like I'm not a cried out mom, but I was like, I'm not letting them cry it out. They will never have a moment where they are without my soothing and cuddling and everything that they need from mommy, right? So I always responded immediately to every time my child made a noise. Now with my third, I quickly learned that this isn't always the best method for every baby. So with my third child, I definitely delay my response just a tad when he wakes up in the middle of the night or stirs during a nap, because I have learned that a lot of the times I'm actually disturbing them when I come in to save the day. They just are making noise because they're moving from one position to another. You know, as adults, we also wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, and if someone comes over patting us, talking to us, shushing us, whatever, that might actually wake us up a little bit more than just giving yourself a moment to just turn over, look at the ceiling, and fall asleep again. So with my third, that actually has been very helpful. I'll wait about 30 seconds before I come rushing in there, sometimes even a minute, because if he doesn't sit up, I think he's he really is just shifting himself at night. And you know what? He goes right back to sleep and he is happier. Every time with my other children, if I went in there and they were just stirring, oh my goodness, they would be up like 20 minutes, you know, just because I came in there to save the day and they just needed a second to get it together, you know. So that's definitely one thing that I added, and I definitely would do if I had another child. But here is something that I actually increased my response time. So when I had my first baby, it was so cute when he would just suck on his hand and then you quickly learn, like, they're not doing that for fun. They're doing that because they want that boob. They want the milk or the bottle. So definitely when I have a newborn, I respond to hand sucking very quickly by feeding them the breast. I breastfeed, so I guess for anyone else who's thinking about taking on any things that I'm saying I did, if you bottle feed, bottle, breast, whatever floats your boat. But I'll whip that boob out very fast and make sure that they were fed. And literally when I see someone else with the newborn and the baby is doing that, the first thing I'm saying, like, oh my goodness, the baby's hungry. You know, I used to say, oh my God, look how cute, sucking on their little fist. And now I'm like, oh, they're starving. Now some babies do this to soothe, but just for me, for my kids, soothing also involved breastfeeding. So I would just take them and get them that comfort that they were looking for. So that response time actually increased. I'm not sitting there in awe of how a baby is sucking on a hand, and I'm actually moving and making things happen. So that is definitely something that changed. Oh, looser fitting clothing. I used to buy clothes or use clothes that people gave to me at like baby shower and so on and so forth, literally by the month or age of the baby was. Like 3 to 6 months, the child was always within that range. Now, you know, my son, he's about 17 months old, and I put 2T things on him, things that are looser. Can he fit 18 months? Yes, he can. But it's so much easier for me to get their clothes on and off. Also, he is at the age where he's starting to learn how to put his clothes on himself, like put his arms through, put his leg in, and it's so much easier and so much quicker for me to actually teach him to do this independently if his clothes are looser. Okay, and number 7. This is something that really took trial and error with my first child. You live and you learn. I don't drink or eat any dairy for the first 6 months of breastfeeding with my children. I learned this from my first child. Literally, he would wake up in the middle of the night and I would pick him up, and then he would pass gas, and then I would lay him back down and he would just go straight to sleep. Like literally, it was only the gas that was waking him up. And as you know, moms, when you have a little baby, you want as much sleep as you possibly can get because they are on this very interesting time clock, and you want to make sure you maximize the time that they can sleep in one sitting, in one session, right? So my baby would wake up just because he had to pass gas. And lo and behold, when I stopped eating dairy, he stopped doing this. He just magically stopped doing it. And he would sleep and sleep for a long period of time. So literally, after my first, I don't care. The first 6 months, I would not eat any dairy. I didn't want to even chance it, that it would wake up or stir my baby in any type of way through my breast milk. And it absolutely worked for me. It really helped a lot. And none of my babies after that had gas in the middle of the night. Win for mom. Okay, I hope you found this video very worth your while. Please remember to like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.